Hello everyone, welcome back to our podcast. Today we have somebody special from Albania. He's a very young and talented politician, if I could say, somebody that I really admire for his opinion. He is the co-author of the doctrine of the political party of the Democratic Political Party of Albania. Ladies and gentlemen, Nikola Kedhi.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hello Nikola. Nikola, you are now podcasted. Could you please introduce a bit yourself to the public?
Well, as you said, I'm one of the authors of the political doctrine of the Democratic Party, engaged in public life with my articles in various media in Albania, in Europe, in the United States, an economist, a financial consultant, and on my free time also giving my opinion on political issues, on economic and geopolitical issues.
Okay, so that's why we invited you as well. I'm very happy to have you here, and I would like to speak about the political situation in Albania, and more precisely about the Democratic Party. Here in Europe, maybe we don't understand the issue that the party had till today, which is about the logo and the stamp. So if you could, in few words, explain us what was that issue that kept imprisoned the political party in the opposition.
So the Democratic Party of Albania is a center-right conservative party, the main center-right conservative party and the main party within the opposition. For a decade now, it has been the largest opposition party. It had a chairman until 2022, exactly until December 2021. A chairman who was considered more aligned with the government, more like a minister of the government than a true leader of the opposition. And there was this perception, in some cases also proven true, that he worked against the opposition and his own party. And that's why the Democratic Party, or one of the main reasons why the DP stayed in opposition for this long. Because until 2013 we were used to political parties being in power 8 years, then in opposition 8 years, whereas in the past decade this pattern was broken. And the base of the party summoned a national convention together with the historic leader of the right, Ali Berisha, one of the founder or one of the founders of the Democratic Party from the 1990s. And one of the leaders of the anti-communist revolts back then, and who was out of any official duties from 2013 when he resigned as prime minister after losing the elections, up until 2022 when he was re-elected as chairman of the party by the base once again. The base, after summoning this national convention, this special convention, fired the previous chairman, changed the statute of the party, and formed a re-established commission or a steering committee to lead the party into the new elections and the formation of the new structures. This main process and the deriving processes from this convention onwards were not recognized by the government, by the socialist government, obviously, because they wanted the previous chairman, and not Mr. Berisha, who is seen as the only figure within the center right able to put together all these different factions within the right, mainly because he has done it before. He did it in 2005 when he came into power. He did it previously, so I usually like to compare him to President Reagan, because it's that stature of a politician, maybe the last Reaganite in Europe. in the era of weird politicians and leaders. He remains that format of a man of state, of a politician. And within his base, within the base of the party, he was seen as the only one at that moment who could save the Democratic Party from basically extinction. And for the past 2 years, this matter has gone into court, sometimes illegally, with the petitions to the court from the previous chairman, accepted illegally by judges in some case, in order to prevent Berisha and most of the Democratic Party from getting the logo, from getting the seal of the party, and from entering elections as a fully functioning legal party. Finally, after 2 years, a matter that should have been solved 2 years ago within 5 minutes, because it was obvious, clear for everybody to whom the party belonged, it took this long to recognize Berisha as the democratically elected chairman of the Democratic Party. And finally, after 2 years, the right decision was taken to recognize what was a political process. And in politics, it's political actions, it's political processes that have prevalence, that decide. It's not courts. It's not the bureaucracy, it's not the government that decides what should happen within a political party. And that's what happened in the past 2 years, threatening not only this political party specifically, but threatening pluralism and threatening democracy itself within the country, setting dangerous precedents within the legal system. So it's not just a thing that mattered to Mr. Berisha or affected only him or his party, but affected all of us because of these dangerous precedents that were set. And I'm sorry to say that Europe has closed not only an eye but both eyes in this case. Has totally abandoned.
That was my next question. Actually,
has totally abandoned Albania, and also the European People's Party should have been more proactive in this. Instead, they chose neutrality, a neutrality that hurt Albanian democracy, Albanian institutions, and the Albanian citizens, not only the Democratic Party electorate or base. So it has been a difficult 2 years, but I'm confident that now that this issue has been settled, finally, the Democratic Party has all the potential to prepare itself for the next elections in 2025.
Okay, and we will be back about the European issue. I also find it a big problem that the European Party, the EPP, didn't help the Democratic Party, but let's focus first on the upcoming elections. Do you think that now that everything is in place, the Democratic Party is really ready to go against that huge machine of the Socialist Party in Albania? Do you think that has everything placed or starting getting placed for a huge fight for not letting Edi Rama for a fourth mandate?
Well, I think the Democratic Party, or at least the base, is a party of fighting for freedom. That's how it was created in the 1990s. It's the party that, when it wasn't even a party, it helped Albania be free of the communist regime. So when it fought back then against a whole communist state and the whole apparatus associated with the communist regime, I believe that it can win in the next elections. However, it's mostly up to the Democratic Party because it has to have a good electoral program with promises that are not simply electoral promises, but that present a vision for the future of Albania. Where does the Democratic Party see Albania in the next 20, 30, 50 years? So it needs to cast this optimistic vision for Albania, with promises, of course, that are doable, that are also promises that obviously improve the lives of the citizens. The second thing is that it needs to have an electoral team, or some new faces that are inspirational to not only the base, but to go beyond the base, because the Democratic Party has its own electorate, its own votes. It needs to reach the independents. So in order to do that, it's not only enough to have a program, but also the people that need to present this program to the people need to be credible, need to have integrity, need to be new faces, professionals, intellectuals, and so on. Of course, together with the main contribution of everybody that has been in the party in the past 30 years, especially in the past decade, and especially in the last 2 years. Those that have stood by the party, by the base, respected their decisions, and so on. So there needs to be this mix between the new faces that everybody wants, but also the experience and all the work that has been done by the Democratic Party members and leaderships in the past 2 years. Because the DP is not in a position to throw away the contribution of anybody. But of course, it needs to attract a new generation of leaders, of politicians, of intellectuals that could reach out to the grey electorate, let's say, to the ones that need to be convinced. And the third element that I think it's very important is the work on the ground, with the structures, with the communities, and so on. It's not enough to present these from the TV screens. It's not enough to present these in the capital or in the party headquarters. But everybody needs to present these ideas, the program, and these proposals with this team that will need to be formed where the communities are. So everybody needs to go on the ground, to meet people, to get feedback from them, to present, to convince, in order to create this considerable coalition, ranging from all specters of the center-right, attracting the middle classes, the anti-communists, the ones that have suffered under communism and during the past decade, the youth, and all of these groups, the libertarians, the conservatives, and all these groups that are within the center-right, in order to create first the perception that the Democratic Party is ready to govern and that it will govern well. And I think if it starts now, in some areas it has already started because the program is being worked on, and so on, but it has to work a lot in the next year, as we near the elections.
Okay, you mentioned something about communists, and this is something I would like to add up. It's like not that the communists, they disappeared after 90s. Actually, they are the ones in power. We still see members of the Communist Party that they are members of the Socialist Party. One of them was the president of the parliament as well.
Yeah,
Somebody
that's
with
true.
quite a
Because
history. And
well,
I think it's also
they didn't just go away in the
yeah, they
90s.
don't want to go away. And I think it's also that the Democratic Party should work also taking the votes from the Socialist Party, from the ones who they don't like what is happening now. I think there should be some, for not saying a majority, but there should be some that they would like a change and they would like a more free Albania. But
I want to add something here
yeah,
because of what you said. There are a lot of socialists actually that are voters of the Socialist Party because of their family history or tradition and so on, or some even from inertia and don't believe a thing that of the things that socialism stands on. I think that Albanians are in their majority conservatives. They believe in family, in tradition, in the protection of communities. They want rule of law. They want strong institutions. They want low taxes, a limited government. And in all of these items, most, I think, are conservatives, not only within the center-right, but also in the center and also the voters of the Socialist Party. And if the Democratic Party goes in the ground, goes in the communities where the people are, and if the Democratic Party explains these principles, explains what it stands for, and all of these notions that make up conservatism, then I think it can attract a lot of voters that are not only independents, but usually voters of the Socialist Party. We saw this in the United Kingdom with Brexit. A lot of traditional Labour voters voted for the Conservative Party because what the Conservative Party was offering them resonated with them. They wanted that program, those proposals. They wanted to leave the European Union. They didn't want the bureaucracy, the mass immigration, the uncontrolled illegal immigration, and so on. And I think if the Democratic Party goes to even those that have voted for the left in the past 30 years, to the independents, and of course to the traditional center-right voters, and explains what it stands for now, I think it can attract a huge coalition that wants change.
Okay. And as we are speaking about coalition, what do you think of the European coalition? What do you think of the European political parties? What they should do more? Now they were, as I said, with both eyes sleeping, or we will pretend that they were sleeping. And now I guess they should take action. They should help the opposition. They should help the Democratic Party.
I think so. I've been thinking so for a while, that the European Union needs to be more involved, and more involved in doing what it actually says. Like we usually hear from the European Union, from the Commission, from the Parliament, and so on, that they are for the rule of law, for the separation of powers, for democracy, liberal democracy, and so on. But it's often an empty rhetoric, and that's why in the Balkans authoritarian leaders do not care what the European Union says, because in the end they know that the European Union will not take action, because that's how it has been, especially in the past decade. The European Union takes actions only against those governments that do not follow the same line as the European Union unelected bureaucrats. We've seen that in Hungary, we've seen that in Poland, we've seen that in Spain, for example. The socialist government of Pedro Sanchez, who is a borderline authoritarian, doesn't seem to bother the European Union executives, the unelected bureaucrats of Brussels. Spain, for example, now is being threatened. The whole existence of the country, of the state, is under threat of the separatists. The government now is composed of socialists, communists, terrorists of ETA, and all of these groups that in some cases are funded by the Nicolas Maduro regime, or by Putin, or these adversarial regimes. And this doesn't seem to bother the European Commission, for example. But Hungary, which has a democratically elected prime minister, and I would say a fully functioning democracy, bothers the European Commission a lot. The previous conservative government in Poland bothered the European Commission, but the European Commission is not bothered when two opposition MPs in Poland are kept under house arrest. Same thing in Albania. The European Commission or the European People's Party is not bothered now that the opposition leader Berisha is being kept under house arrest without a single accusation. And the European Commission or the Parliament are not bothered that in the case of Mr. Berisha, when there is no accusation against him, even in regimes or in banana republics, they make up an accusation of some sort against political prisoners. In Albania, there is no need even for a formal accusation. He's simply being kept under house arrest. And this doesn't bother anybody. And the judge in his case is in an immense conflict of interest because she was fired in 1996 when Berisha was president of the republic, and as such he was also head of the judiciary, and she doesn't recuse herself. These people need to understand that this is a terrible precedent for each Albanian citizen, because the judiciary works with precedents, with previous cases. So now this is a terrible precedent that a judge who is in conflict of interest doesn't need to recuse themselves. The prosecutor is a former communist prosecutor who is now prosecuting the case against Chairman Berisha, and he is illegally in his position. So it's all of these elements that threaten Albanian democracy that the European Commission doesn't find worrying, or the European Parliament, or all of these unelected bureaucrats.
And I think what also the European Commission doesn't find worrying is that Albania has become a narco state. We don't see them bothering about it at all. They don't seem to bother that Albania is getting so much funds, let's say, because we have spoken also here about the construction scheme that happens in Albania, and they don't even question, or maybe they know, but somehow it helps them to stay like this, which this is what I find extremely ironic.
Exactly, there is no reaction from the European Union about any of this. Maybe the European Commission president doesn't read Bild or doesn't watch Rai Tre in Italy, or doesn't read the newspapers across the Atlantic. But more and more newspapers, media across Europe and in the United States are pointing out that this is a huge problem. And I hope with the new European Parliament, things may start to change, because